What if I told you someone has been loving you in silence for far longer than you could ever imagine? And the scariest part is, you've already seen the signs, but you chose not to see them. Before we go deeper, take a second. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, because what you're about to hear might change how you look at every interaction from this moment forward. Listen carefully. Most men are trained to look for loud signals, obvious attraction, direct words, clear intentions. But real emotional attachment, especially from a woman who has learned to protect herself, rarely announces itself. It hides, it watches, it waits. There is someone in your life who studied you quietly. She learned your patterns, your moods, your silences, not because she was curious, but because she cared more than she allowed herself to show. And you? You probably placed her in the category of just there, safe, familiar, almost invisible. That's how silent love survives. It doesn't compete, it doesn't demand. It stays just close enough to feel you, but never close enough to risk losing you completely. You see, a woman who loves quietly isn't weak. She's disciplined. She has already imagined the rejection, the distance, the shift in energy if she speaks too soon. So she chooses control over confession. And that control creates an illusion. You think nothing is there, but something is there. It's in the way she listens a little longer when you talk. It's in the way she remembers details you forgot you even shared. It's in the subtle tension when another woman gets your attention, even if she masks it perfectly. And here's the truth most men never hear. When a woman loves you quietly for a long time, her emotions don't fade. They deepen. They become rooted, almost permanent. So the question isn't whether someone has loved you silently. The question is, have you been too distracted to notice the one person who never stopped choosing you, even when you weren't choosing her? You think attraction is obvious. You've been taught that if a woman likes you, she'll show it in ways you can't miss. But that belief has blinded you more than it has helped you. Because the woman who has loved you quietly, she mastered the art of hiding in plain sight. She doesn't chase your attention. She earns a place in your environment instead. She becomes part of your routine, your conversations, your comfort zone. And over time, you stop questioning her presence. She becomes normal to you, while you remain everything to her. Watch closely. The quiet lover doesn't interrupt your life, she adapts to it. She finds reasons to be around without making it obvious. She supports without making it feel like sacrifice. And the most dangerous part? You begin to rely on her energy without ever realizing how deeply invested she is in you. There's a certain way she reacts to your struggles. Not dramatic, not performative, but steady, consistent. Almost like she feels responsible for your emotional state. When you're low, she notices before others do. When you succeed, her happiness feels genuine, sometimes more genuine than your own friends. But she won't cross the line. Not because she doesn't want to, but because crossing that line risks everything she's built in silence. One wrong move, one rejection, and she loses access to you completely. So she stays where it's safe, close, but undefined. And you? You misinterpret her stability as neutrality. You think she's just kind, just supportive, just easy to be around. You don't see the discipline behind it, the restraint it takes to feel something deeply and still choose silence every single day. Here's where it becomes unsettling. The longer she hides it, the better she becomes at hiding it. Her emotions don't disappear, they evolve. They become more controlled, more subtle, more dangerous to overlook. And if you're not paying attention, you'll do what most men do. You'll chase something louder, something more obvious, something that demands your focus, while the one person who truly understood you stays quietly in the background. The truth is, silent love doesn't compete for attention. It waits for awareness, and most men never become aware until it's already gone. There's something even more unsettling you need to understand. She didn't just develop feelings for you overnight. This didn't start with one moment, one conversation, or one spark. It grew slowly, almost invisibly over time. And that's exactly why it's so powerful. You were just being yourself, talking, joking, sharing pieces of your life without thinking twice. But to her, those moments weren't casual. They were collected, stored, replayed. Every detail you considered insignificant became part of how she understood you on a deeper level than most people ever will. She noticed the shift in your tone when something bothered you, even when you said nothing was wrong. She picked up on the patterns, when you withdraw, when you open up, when you need space but won't ask for it. And without announcing it, she adjusted herself around you. That's what quiet love does. It studies before it speaks. It adapts before it reveals. And here's the part that most men completely miss. She started caring about your growth. Not in a controlling way, but in a subtle, almost protective way. She wants you to succeed, to become better, to avoid mistakes, even if she never takes credit for guiding you in that direction. You might remember moments where her advice felt strangely accurate, like she understood exactly what you needed to hear. That wasn't coincidence. That was emotional investment built over time. But because she never made a declaration, you never assigned meaning to it. You treated it as normal, expected, predictable. And this is where silent love becomes painful, because the deeper it grows, the harder it becomes for her to express it without risking everything. So instead of speaking, she refines the way she shows it. Smaller gestures, softer signals, controlled reactions. Meanwhile, you continue your life unaware that someone has been emotionally aligning themselves with you for much longer than you realize. And if you're honest, there have been moments, brief, almost unexplainable, where you felt something different around her. A pause, a shift, a sense that there's more beneath the surface. But you ignored it. Most men do. Because recognizing quiet love requires a level of awareness that isn't loud, isn't obvious, and doesn't chase you. It simply stays, waiting for you to finally see what's been there all along. Now I want you to think about something most men never question: why she never left your orbit. Because if she truly meant nothing, she would have disappeared by now. People don't stay emotionally invested where there is zero return. But she stayed. Through distance, through silence, through your distractions, through your emotional unavailability at times you didn't even notice. And that tells you everything. She adapted to your level of attention instead of demanding more of it. That's not indifference. That's emotional patience pushed to its limit. You probably noticed she doesn't overtext you. She doesn't push the constant validation. She doesn't create chaos when you go quiet. Instead, she withdraws just enough to protect herself, but never fully disconnects. That balance is not accidental. It's learned behavior. It's self-control shaped by emotional risk. Because deep down, she knows something you don't fully realize yet. If she reveals everything she feels, she loses control of the connection. And when someone has quietly loved you for a long time, losing control feels like losing you completely. So she stays in this middle space, emotionally present but verbally restrained. And here's where your perception becomes dangerous. You interpret her calmness as lack of interest. You interpret her patience as neutrality. You interpret her consistency as friendship. But psychology tells us something very different. Consistent emotional presence without escalation often signals attachment that is being deliberately contained. She is not absent, she is regulated. And that regulation takes effort every single day. There are moments she almost says something, moments where she thinks about breaking the silence, moments where her emotions rise faster than her discipline can hold them. But she pulls back, every time, because she has already imagined what happens if she doesn't. The uncertainty, the shift in how you look at her, the possibility that everything she built quietly could collapse in seconds. So instead, she stays in the version of the relationship where she still has access to you, even if it's incomplete access. And what makes this even more powerful is that you never asked her to stay. She chose it, over and over again. Not because you demanded it, but because in her mind, you became emotionally significant long before you ever noticed she existed in that way. There is a moment in every quiet attachment where the mind starts negotiating with itself, where feelings become too heavy to stay unspoken, but too risky to release. And that is where she is now. Or was at some point you didn't notice. Because silent love is not static. It changes shape, it evolves, it grows more precise, more selective, more controlled. What begins as curiosity becomes familiarity. What becomes familiarity turns into emotional dependency. Not in a dramatic way, but in a subtle, almost invisible way. She doesn't need you constantly, but she notices when you're not there. And that difference is everything. You might think absence is neutral, but for someone who has been emotionally invested for a long time, absence is loud. It creates questions, it creates scenarios, it creates emotional space that fills itself with thoughts of you. And she never tells you this. Instead, she manages it internally. She redirects it into patience, into distraction, into self-control. But it never fully disappears. It just gets quieter on the surface while becoming stronger underneath. This is why she seems stable around you, not because she feels less, but because she has trained herself not to show more. And here's the part that can change how you see everything. She is not waiting for you to notice her randomly. She is waiting for a moment of emotional safety. A moment where she believes her truth won't destroy what already exists between you. But that moment rarely comes, because life keeps moving. Conversations stay surface level. Timing never feels perfect. And so she continues to carry something unspoken inside her while interacting with you like everything is normal. That contradiction is where emotional depth hides. You laugh with her without realizing there are pauses in her mind where she almost tells you everything. You talk to her without knowing she has already replayed your words long after the conversation ended. You move on with your day while she still holds fragments of it in her awareness. And the most difficult truth is this: she has likely already accepted the possibility that you may never fully see it. But acceptance does not erase feeling. It only makes it quieter. And quiet feelings are the ones that last the longest. At some point, something shifts. Not in what she feels, but in how long she's willing to carry it alone. Because even the most disciplined silence has a limit. Even the strongest emotional control starts to crack when there's no recognition, no progression, no sign that you see beyond the surface. And when that shift happens, it doesn't look dramatic. There's no confrontation, no sudden confession. It's quieter than that, almost invisible if you're not paying attention. She starts pulling back, not completely, but enough. Enough to test something you don't even realize is being tested: your awareness, your initiative, your ability to feel her absence the way she has felt yours. You might notice she's a little less available, a little less responsive. The conversations don't flow as easily as before. And instead of questioning it deeply, you tell yourself she's just busy, or things are just changing naturally. But it's not random. It's intentional distance, not to punish you, but to protect herself. Because after loving quietly for so long, a woman reaches a point where she needs to know if she matters beyond convenience. If her presence in your life has weight, or if she's just been filling a space you never truly valued. And here's where most men fail the test, not because they don't care, but because they never understood what they were supposed to notice. They don't feel the shift immediately. They don't recognize the emotional withdrawal. They continue as if nothing has changed, and that silence becomes confirmation for her. Confirmation that what she felt was one-sided in expression, even if it wasn't in connection. So she begins to detach, slowly, carefully, not all at once, but piece by piece. And the most unsettling part? She will still be kind, still be respectful, still be present enough that you don't question her completely. But something essential starts fading, something you can't quite name at first, until one day you feel it. The absence of something that was always there, but never obvious enough for you to protect. And by the time you finally feel it, it's already too late to experience it the way it once existed. Because what you're sensing now isn't her love in its full form, it's the echo of it. The quieter, distant version that remains after she's taught herself to let go of what she never allowed herself to fully express. This is the moment most men wake up. Not when the love is present, but when it starts disappearing. You begin to replay interactions. You think about the way she used to listen, the way she responded, the consistency you once took for granted. And suddenly, those small things don't feel small anymore. They feel rare. You realize she understood you without needing explanations. You realize she stayed when others came and went. You realize she gave you a version of emotional presence that didn't demand anything from you, and that's exactly why you didn't value it when you had it. But now it's different. Now there's space where her attention used to be. There's a subtle distance in her tone. There's a version of her that no longer leans in the same way. And here's the truth you need to hear, even if it's uncomfortable. When a woman who loved you quietly begins to detach, she doesn't do it halfway. She does it with the same discipline she used to love you. Slowly, intentionally, completely. She doesn't replace you instantly. She releases you internally first. And once that process is complete, what you see on the outside is just a reflection of a decision she made long before you noticed anything had changed. So when you finally start questioning her absence, she has already made peace with it. And the opportunity you thought you still had existed in a version of time you didn't pay attention to. That's why awareness matters. Not later, now. Because someone, somewhere in your life, may still be in that silent phase, still choosing you without recognition, still holding something real without expressing it. The question is, will you see it while it's still alive? Or will you only understand its value after it becomes something you can never get back?